The topic of this lesson is about phishing mail attack cases and its response measures. In the first section, our overview of phishing mail. In this section, I'm going to tell a general overview and types of phishing mail. Secondly, I'd like to tell you a little more about intercepting account information, which is the main purpose of phishing mail. Third, the send mail page will introduce you to the mailing page created by the attacker. Fourth, I'll show you the real examples of phishing emails and pages that end users encounter. Lastly, I'll introduce you to the preventive measures and countermeasures against phishing attacks and wrap up the lecture. Most of the causes of recent breaches are caused by phishing mail. In addition, those phishing mail breaches are in increasing trends. Although there are many reasons for the increasing trend, the main reasons are easily collected emails on public websites and the company's low security levels. Among the numerous hacking groups that use phishing mail, one notable hacking group who hacked the nation's major organizations, companies and individuals since at least 2013 collects account information through spreading HWP format files containing malicious codes or through various deceitful acts. The attack organization also collects exchanged mails with key people from mail accounts obtained through malware infections. Moreover, they use those mail accounts as another phishing email content to create additional infections. The first thing I'll introduce is a phishing mail. Phishing is a word for phishing personal information. Phishing is a very familiar word in the field of IT security. In general, attackers send malicious content disguised as ordinary content by mail or messenger to phish end users' information. Using phishing emails as the main attack tool to steal account information and distribute malicious code are constantly happening. Moreover, it is in increasing trends nowadays. The table in the slide shows the types of attacks by organizations that attacked major Korean institutions. As you can see, the attacks against the officials of major organizations have been done by spreading malicious code through malicious document files, phishing mail, and remote control of TeamViewer. Hackers commonly replace the letter F with PH, a nod to the original form of hacking known as phone phreaking. The attacks by phishing were first discovered in South Korea in September 2013. They are mainly used to impersonate government agencies and send emails. From here, I'll show 6 major types of phishing attacks. Recently, incidents of stealing personal information are continuously happening. Moreover, the attempts to steal and sell accounts using leaked personal information have been more frequent. To prevent these incidents, portal sites provide major security-related records, such as access records and password change records through email messages. However, attackers exploit to disguise as emails sent from the portal sites and lure them to enter account information. The attack type, which impersonates a trusted sender like a customer center on a portal site, is one of the typical social engineering techniques. Phishing emails disguised as a customer center of large Korean portal sites, like on this slide, are increasing trends. As you can see on this slide, those emails from the customer center are saying that password is exposed and login is restricted. However, it is not an email from a real customer center. An attacker has made it. If ordinary people receive an email like in the previous slide, people will recognize the email as normal and accessing the links will be increased. However, because both mail format and content are written by an attacker, the link leads to an attacker-created login camouflaged phishing site like on this slide. If the password is entered and authenticated as intended by the attacker, this information is sent to the attacker. The second type of phishing attack uses the file attachment function. If you see the slide, you can see two cases disguise large file attachment from portal site email and file link on the mail. Although it seems normal, there are also screens created by an attacker. Clicking on the link does not download the file but prompts you to go to the login page and enter your account information. Attackers carry out the attack, stating in the body of the mail that the mail is encrypted or self-identification is required to increase the success rate of the attack. If you enter the account information on the phishing page after using the link on the phishing mail, it will show the normal file. So, it is difficult for ordinary users to recognize that the account information is stolen. The third type is inserting vulnerability codes. An attacker would perform a phishing attack through a vulnerable point in the mail reading page on the portal site. Code execution of HTML or JavaScript in the body of mails can configure a connection to the phishing site when the user opens the XSS vulnerability code included mail. The example shown on the screen is this type of phishing attack. As you can see, recommending the re-login page is shown if you open the mail. If the user does log in again, account information like ID and password will be sent to the attacker. Sometimes this can happen because of an internet problem. But if you get the screen after reading your mail, you might suspect it as a phishing attack. The fourth type of phishing attack uses malicious HWP file attachment. For your information, HWP is a file extension of Hangul word processor, which is widely used in Korea. If users execute the malicious file that was attached, malicious codes infect the user's PC immediately. Therefore, you must make sure that the mail sender and the content are normal before opening the attached files. If you always use the latest version for programs that read PC documents, you can avoid malware infection even if you accidentally run malicious files. The fifth type of phishing attack uses malicious compressed file attachment. Unlike the previous case, which uses a malicious HWP file, the fifth type of phishing attack uses a compressed file. This type of attachment is recently increasing. Write and send a message such as, "I'm sending you an attachment, please check it out," in order to make the user read the attachment without any suspicion. In this case, it may be difficult to know that the infection occurred because it shows normal files after malicious code execution. You should be careful because most of them are disguised as customer service centers or related persons. On the screen, you can see that mail has been sent with a message asking you to view the login history file. This is also a form of mail disguised as a customer center, so running the file without any doubt can cause damage. The last type of phishing attack is using MS Word processor files, which include malicious macros. In addition to malicious Hangul files, attackers also distribute MS Word files containing malicious macros. Office programs such as MS Word and MS Excel have a built-in function to write and execute macro codes using Visual Basic scripts. Attackers exploit this to create code that downloads malware and attempts to download additional malware. Because MS Office programs are set to disable macro code execution by default for security, we are including the macro code execution prevention option to be disabled on the first page displayed when viewing documents. If you perform such a procedure, the actual malicious macro code is executed and the malicious code is downloaded. Since this method exploits the normal function, not the program's vulnerability, infection can occur regardless of the program version. Next is the interception of account information. Phishing mail consists of two parts, spreading malicious codes and stealing account information. Attackers lure users to authenticate accounts by creating phishing pages that users cannot easily distinguish. The figure shown on the screen is a diagram of the type of the stealing account information by attackers. The stealing account information is divided into using phishing pages and using PH proxy. Attackers generally use those two for disguised authentication or insert malicious code. The attacker creates a login page that is very similar to a normal site by using HTML and JavaScript code used in the real website. HTML and JavaScript code is a client language, so anyone can collect it. The attacker collected this and implemented the same operation and user interface of the login and authentication page of the portal site. The attacker created the authentication page in 3 modes: password recheck, password change, and attachment download. Afterwards, all parts that require communication with the actual server are commented out so that they do not work, and then only the code in the account information input part is modified. The sample data showed in this slide shows the phrase "login failed" when entering account information on a phishing page and redirect to a regular page. You can also see that the program does not run OTP authentication by annotating some parts of codes. The attacker wants to steal the OTP authentication number used as an additional authentication process when logging in. To do this, the entered account information is sent to the external proxy IP, and login authentication is attempted directly to verify OTP authentication. When authentication is verified from the proxy IP, additional authentication phishing pages are linked to induce and collect authentication numbers. Attackers also steal accounts via phishing mail using an open source called PH proxy. This is because PH proxy allows users to steal users and their account information from the middle of the website, just as they use an actual proxy server. To this end, an attacker creates PH proxy with the index.php file name and induces access. The screen you see now is the overall operation process for the previous steps. It should be noted from the victim's point of view that the damage cannot be identified because necessary information is intercepted and transmitted to the normal route during the third step process. In this slide, we can see that the process of checking the response value after sending the account information to proxy IP. When connecting to a phishing site through a phishing email, it tries to connect with URL/Q equals because index.php is set as the default page in PHP settings even if you do not specify it. After that, in the PH proxy setting, set the URL to access with the factor value of Q and decode the past factor value into base 64 and use it as the normal login URL. The access is made to the URL received through the previous process, and the request and response values for this connection are separated by IP and saved as a file. The attacker collects account information through this file. After normal access, read the previously created login phishing page from reconfirm.htm file and change the normal path to the path of the phishing site to use. As you can see on this slide, the string user ID is replaced by the ID, which is intercepted. If a user attempts to log in through the disguised login page, the user is reconnected to index.php and all the request and response values are stored in the file. The attacker steals account information through this file, and in order to prevent the user from recognizing it, the attacker redirects to the normal site index.php or links to the actual file used to disguise the attachment. The following is about the mail sending part. Attackers do not use a typical mail client program to send mail. Instead of it, attackers create a mail sending page as PHP language. Then, they send a phishing mail through a function. This is because the mail function allows attackers to manipulate mail header and body, like mail address and name of the sender. The screen you are seeing now is part of the attack code found in South Korea. The attacker wrote and sent the sender, recipient, and body content of each attack mail with one PHP page. Moreover, the mail page can be used by changing existing data in the page through annotation. By analyzing the server, you can check the history of continuously updated mail addresses and body contents. Moreover, attackers made a page called mail.php, which could simply enter phishing information without modifying the source code. The mail_ok.php page, where the actual mail body content is written, receives the value input from this page and sends it by executing the mail function. Attackers use this process to do phishing using disguise attached file and XSS attacks. Mail_ok.php manipulates the Xmailer header to disguise itself as normal mail. The Xmailer header usually contains mail client information. The mail_ok.php manipulates this information to disguise the mail as normal. Also, some mail_ok.php have included XSS attack codes in the mail body, which is believed to have sent phishing mail targeting vulnerabilities in mail reading pages. Next, let's look at some examples of phishing mail and phishing pages. I'll explain the large portal site in Korea as an example. If you click the link on phishing mail without any doubt, you'll see fake pages like on this slide. All of the phishing pages on this slide are attacker-generated phishing pages, not those from the normal site. Those phishing pages are difficult to distinguish even to experts. Phishing page shows the screen according to the connected environment like PC or mobile. So mobile environment cannot assure security. From now on, I'll show some real examples of phishing pages found in Korea. Most of the phishing mails request authentication to release blocked accounts. If the customer service center sent an email like this without any circumstance, it is recommended to check the address of the link in the mail one more time. Also, using release blocked account menu without using the link in the mail is recommended. Another large Korean portal site is introducing OTP authentication system. Like the attack technique in the previous slide, OTP authentication numbers are also subject to attack. Therefore, we should not be relieved that we have set up OTP security. For example, if you enter OTP number in the pages like on this slide, attackers can collect account information and even try to log in. The pages on this slide are warning messages from the customer center. Those pages usually say about abnormal login activity, account exposure, password change recommendations, and security issues to carry out an attack. Please be aware that these phishing pages are implemented primarily by disguising them as trusted targets. We also find phishing pages of globally well-known websites like Yahoo, Coinbase, and PayPal. As you can see in this slide, attackers steal account information through pages like account authentication or expired credit card period. Lastly, I'd like to introduce you to the prevention and countermeasures. The following are prevention and response measures. Even if you can't distinguish between phishing emails and connect to a phishing page, you can prevent leakage if you don't actually enter your account information. You can check the phishing page through the address bar. As a visible feature, in the case of a phishing page, you can see that there is no lock display or green background display that can be seen in Internet Explorer environment, unlike normal sites. So users need to pay attention when accessing the page through links that you don't usually use. And we recommend you to access the page through the main page. Next, for the safe management of your account, please change your password regularly and block the overseas logins. Also, please check your login history regularly. Also, if you check the sender's email address, you can greatly reduce the possibilities of phishing damage.